Here we go. 3, 2, 1. The Broncos are heading in a new direction as they get set to face the Kansas City Chiefs, and we are getting you ready for kickoff. Hello, welcome into the studio. I am Phil Milani alongside Sidney Jones and Eric Dalala, wishing you a happy new year. Guys, the Broncos made a big move this week, parting ways with Nathaniel Hackett, insert Jerry Rosburg as the interim head coach. Sid, how do you think the team will respond to these changes?
Yeah, Phil. Well, first, I think it has been a hard week for some of these players. You know, we heard from some of them. I talked to several of them throughout the week, and they really did love Coach Hackett, love the type of person he was, who he was as a coach too. But, you know, it is a business, and they understand that too. You know, at the end of the day, this game is about winning, and 4-11 just doesn't cut it. So I think they are responding well. It's been a tough week. They're going through a lot of adversity, but it seems like most of all, they just want to go out there and win. With 2 games left in the season, 2 division games, by the way, they just want to go out there and win. And, you know, Jerry Rosburg, he's been in this league for years. I mean, has 18 years of coaching experience. So I think he stepped in and has already made an impact. Seems like he just wants them to make the most of these final 2 weeks, get the most out of the players, and just get things rolling here.
Yeah, and he's been very impressive when he's been speaking with the media.
Yeah.
A much different tone than when Nathaniel Hackett was in charge. What do you think, Eric? They like this disciplinarian coming in?
Well, I think it sets a different tone here. He's definitely old school. They went padded practice on Thursday, and he wants his team to play a certain brand of football. And they're going to try to go out there, play fundamentally sound, not make these mistakes that they've made in the past. He's clearly inserted himself in the special teams department there, letting go of Dwayne Stukes and being firmly entrenched with Mike Mallory. So he's doing his best to put this team in position to beat the Chiefs. You know, he's quite disappointed at where this team is in terms of the streak against Kansas City. I think the fact that Ejiro Evero remains with the defense will help that unit maintain its level of play. But yeah, Phil, if anybody thought the Broncos were just going to coast to the finish line here, that's not the case with Jerry Rosburg.
Yeah, and sometimes when you make a change like this, there's a little bit of a spark, a bounce back, if you will. We certainly saw that happen with the Colts and Jeff Saturday this season. But like you mentioned, Eric, the timing kind of tough for Jerry Rosburg coming in here. The Broncos, of course, have lost 14 straight to the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's what the interim head coach had to say about that streak.
Yeah, it's a number that I'm having a hard time grasping, real frankly, because this organization is a steadfast, incredible football tradition, and it can't be that way. It just cannot be that way. So I'm setting out to try to, in 1 week, setting out to change the course of that.
If the Broncos want to snap this 14-game skid, they're going to have to get a better play out of Russell Wilson, that's for sure. 3 interceptions last week against the LA Rams. What do you think? What can he prove this weekend? Because, of course, the record doesn't matter, and now they're not building momentum for the offseason. Right. What does he have to play for here, Sid?
Yeah. Well, Phil, I know Russell would be first to say that, you know, he hasn't played this season up to his standard, up to this organization's standard. So I think for him, it's just about getting out there, finishing the season strong, like I said earlier, and just bouncing back. You know, last week versus the Rams, you mentioned he threw 3 interceptions. By far his worst performance of the season, probably the worst of his career. And, you know, I hope to see him come out and play like he did in this first meeting with the Chiefs back in week 14. It was a slow start, but this offense really got rolling. The best they had looked, you know, put up 21 unanswered points. So I think for him, it's just to finish the season strong and show that, you know, he's here for a reason.
Yeah, season high 3 touchdown passes against the Chiefs earlier this season. Eric, it's been kind of weird, though, because of course, Russ has taken a lot of criticism this year. His teammates this week really came to his defense on social media.
Yeah, and they have been all year. You know, it may not have gained the national attention that it did this week, but guys like Justin Simmons, Cortland Sutton, they've previously spoken out, Dalton Reisner. And this week, you saw more guys speak out in regards to some of these reports about Russell Wilson. Listen, Phil, there's been a lot of noise. There's been a lot of criticism. And if anything, playing well these last 2 weeks, I think would just put a damper on that as you go into the offseason, maybe quiet some of this down, not lead to some of these storylines that we've seen all season. If he can go out and play well against the Kansas City Chiefs, he can go out and play well against the Los Angeles Chargers, maybe it just slows some of the negativity down, and it's going to be a long offseason no matter what for this Broncos team. But I think if Russell Wilson can play well, it'll at least change the narrative a little bit going into the offseason.
And Russell Wilson is going to be a big part of the coaching search coming up here with the Broncos. Any candidate that comes in is going to want to know how they'll work with Russ. And this week, Russell Wilson was asked about, hey, do you need to play better to be able to get some of these premier candidates to come here to Denver?
Yeah, we're excited for it to work out. It's going to be great, and I'm gonna lead the way, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to I've always loved diversity, and we're going to overcome it. Always have, and always will.
Lost in the shuffle a little bit this week with the coaching change and the Russell Wilson news is Randy Gregory's 1-game suspension was reduced to just a fine this week. But Randy Gregory, a tough first season here in Denver. So he put out a statement from his team that, look, I want to be a part of the solution here in Denver. You think he can become that, Sydney?
I do, Phil. I think what we saw this past Sunday isn't who Randy is, starting that fight after the game in Los Angeles. He even said, he let the emotions get the best of him. And like you said, it hasn't been the season he had really hoped for. Started the season off strong, had 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, but then couldn't stay healthy. And I think for him, that has probably added to it this season. And I know he wants to go out there and make the most of his ability, and we all seen flashes of how great he can be. And I know defensive coordinator Jerry Rosburg, he even came to his defense this week saying, this is not the person Randy is, and he's a stand-up guy, he's a hard worker. So I think moving forward, maybe we'll see a different Randy and see the leader that he knows he can be.
It's just so strange when you think back to the offseason. You're like, okay, Bradley Chubb is going to be here. Randy Gregory comes in as a free agent, and this pass rush is going to be really dynamic. Just hasn't played out that way, Eric, this year.
No, I mean, it was dynamic early in the year, and that's when the Broncos found a little bit of success, when they had a healthy Randy Gregory, when they had Bradley Chubb out there. Obviously, that's not what it was like for much of the year. And so the Broncos, with Randy, are going to have to figure out, what do we do with this pass rush? Is Baron Browning capable of starting across from Randy Gregory? Do we need to bring someone else in? I think bottom line, if the Broncos defense is going to play to this standard again next year, they need Randy Gregory to be that difference maker, because when he was healthy early in the year, he was really good. He might have been the best defensive player for the Broncos outside of Pat Surtain. He was all over the field. He was running around, forcing fumbles, getting big-time sacks. I mean, this guy made plays and was exactly who you thought he was going to be. Now, the question with Randy is always going to be, can he stay out there for an extended period of time? That's going to follow him into next year, and he's going to have to prove that he can be healthy, be on the field, be available for this team. But listen, when he's out there and he's healthy, he's as good as anybody. And so I think the Broncos are still hoping he can, like you mentioned, Phil, be part of the solution here for Denver.
Here's what he had to say to the media this week.
I still think there's a lot to build on heading into these next 2 weeks, heading into the offseason. And that's the plan, just to get better, one game, 1 week, one day at a time. And it's a long-term deal. This is a lot that needs to be built, and it's not going to be built in one day. And like I said, I'm part of the solution, and I plan to be here for a long time. And, with that said, I have to do everything the right way. And, it starts with showing up and helping out the way I can.
Time to wrap up now with final thoughts. Sid, let's start with you.
Phil, I think with everything that's just happened this week, I just want to see the team stick together, rally around each other, finish the season strong like we've been saying. And yeah, I guess that's it. Just finish the season strong.
Yeah, and stay together and go face a really talented Chiefs team this week. Eric, what do you think?
Yeah, I want to see how the defense responds here. Obviously, their worst game of the season last week against the Rams, allowed a score on every single possession except that final kneel down. Let's see how these guys respond. Coming back from some missed tackles last week. Can Pat Surtain get his 3rd career interception off Patrick Mahomes? He's been good against Mahomes early in his career. And then just guys on the defense, it's not limited to them, but you've got some decisions to be made here. Who's back? Who are you going to extend? Who's going to be a part of this moving forward? It may not matter in the record books, but the front office is evaluating which players should be on this team moving forward. So that's reason enough to play hard.
Yeah, and they talked about the discipline that they've seen from the defensive side. It'd be nice to see them bounce back this week. Heck, they made Baker Mayfield look like Patrick Mahomes. Now they're really facing Patrick Mahomes. So a big challenge this week. I just want to see how Russ responds to this. His teammates have come to his defense this week. There's been the coaching change. Let's see if Russ can come back, continue what he did against the Chiefs in that game before he got hurt. And then, of course, see how he bounces back from throwing 3 interceptions last week. So that's going to do it for us. For Eric Dalala and Sydney Jones, I'm Phil Milani. Happy New Year. This has been Ready for Kickoff.